melted.
Well,
It's freaking beat up.
I have one where my name, my maiden name,
This is 26.
because I was a little girl, was engraved in gold
What
on
are
it.
we?
It sits in a shelf
Right.
where it belongs. We're on verse 15 of chapter 26 of Isaiah.
You're right.
You guys got everything you need over there?
Yeah, my tablet says I was gonna use my phone.
Share. Share. Isaiah chapter 26, verse 15. We decided to start there because it was changing direction from where we were last week. Last week?
Week before.
Week before last.
Sometime before this evening.
The last time we were together.
All right. Thou hast increased.
Yes, we have. We good?
Ready when you are. Yeah.
Okay. Hey, I'm just
They've
waiting.
been
You guys
sitting there
keep
for 5
talking.
minutes.
Looking at
They've
you.
been sitting there for 5 minutes watching you like this.
Don't wait for me. I'll catch. Believe me, I'll catch up.
Okay. Anyway, we start with verse 15. It says, Thou hast increased the nation, O Lord, thou hast increased the nation. Thou art glorified, thou hast removed it far unto all the ends of the earth.
Now I see why you were saying thou hast increased.
Mhm.
I didn't know what you were saying because mine says you have enlarged the nation.
Well, either way, it's gonna have to do with the
Look at
pizza we had for
You're
dinner.
increasing him. What are you doing here?
Right. Anyway, when the key phrase there, when it says increase the nation, namely the Jewish nation, which multiplied exceedingly in Egypt, right?
Yeah.
Remember that?
Mhm.
And later in Canaan, with Abraham and all of his people, right? So they had filled the land. The prophet perhaps foretells their increase after the return from Babylon also. Because these people go, right? And with the Assyrian army going to attack them, and he's prophesied and the loss of lives, and the remnant's only going to be left, right? So the second or repeat of the phrase is used to because not only that it was enlarged by its regular increase of population, but many converts attended them on their return from Babylon.
Converts.
Excuse me, converts. And probably many came in from surrounding nations on the rebuilding of the capital.
Okay.
Because that's when you start rebuilding a capital and the walls, and it brings in a lot of workers. And they'll convert over to that new belief because it pays better. It's like belonging to a union, right? You get guaranteed wages.
Well, plus it's easy to assimilate somebody you're around
Yes.
all the time.
Right. Yeah, it is.
And it's something different.
Right.
Well, so like there's a big push in Muslimism,
Mm-hmm.
however Muslim was.
Right.
Yes, that religion.
Right.
In Europe and England because, how do I put this? We in the United States, our domestic workers come from south of the border.
Right.
And over there it comes from the east.
The Middle East.
The Midwest.
Yeah.
Or not the Midwest, thank you, the Middle East.
Right.
So
That's
they
the
bring
workers.
their Muslimism over and now they're talking to the people that are paying them and they're like, oh, that's interesting. So
Right.
they end up
They convert a lot of people that way.
assimilating them.
Into the group, right?
Mhm.
He says also, what? Sorry, I didn't interrupt.
No, go
Okay.
ahead.
It says, thou art glorified, or thou hast glorified thyself by thus exalting Israel. So when Israel grows, does he get more praise and more glory?
He should get
Yes.
more praise and more
Well,
glory.
he's fully responsible.
Right. And if the true Jewish people, if they follow that path, he's just gonna keep blessing them,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it says, thou hast removed it far unto all the ends of the earth, or rather, thou hast extended far all the borders of the land. The word rendered removed is rakah, means usually to put far away, and here it may mean to put far away the borders or the boundaries of the nation, that is to extend them far. The original, I guess, borders, Jerusalem was its own entity in the land of Judah originally, and it was just a city,
Mm.
right? Well, now it is quite large. Actually, it's almost its own state, if you want to
Mhm.
go like that, right? And but it still belongs within Judah, but it's its own state. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So we see the growth, right? And then because it extends all the way to Palestine now. It didn't before, right, to the shores, along the shore of the Mediterranean. Originally, it was just a city on a hilltop.
But back then there was no Palestine, right?
No, there
So
wasn't.
something new.
It's something new, right? Remember, they had David fought against the Philistines of
Yeah.
Palestine, right?
And which removed their right for anything in that area.
Right. All
It's
right.
right in the history books.
It's in the history books, right?
It really is.
So the Lord not only blessed them, but He extended their area, so they continued to be blessed in farming and
Their cup overfilleth.
overfilleth. That's a good word for it. I like that. All right. So we go to verse 16. It says, "Lord, in trouble have they visited thee. They poured out a prayer when thy chastising was upon them." Now, in their trouble they have visited. They better have they missed thee, as in 1 Samuel. Oh, you got that?
Oh,
Right.
no.
I can.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 1 Samuel 20 and then 1 Samuel 25. You look at Psalms. I got it, I think. Okay, I got
First
it.
Samuel
20,
Yeah.
verse 6.
If thy father at all miss me, then say, David earnestly asked leave of me, that he might run to Bethlehem his city, for there is a yearly sacrifice there for all the family.
Okay.
And then
25:15.
$25.15.
Mm-hmm.
But the men were very good unto us, and we were not hurt, neither missed we anything, as long as we were conversant with them when we were in the fields.
Yep, right.
So then, when that one says that they didn't have any need of anything, they were well taken care of.
Right, right, right. And it says they poured out, which notes the plenty of, or rather the earnestness of their prayers. In Psalms 42:4, I have that one. And it says, "When I remembered these things, I pour out my soul in me, for I had gone with the multitude. I went with them to the house of God with the voice of joy and praise with the multitude that kept the holy day." All right? So, what is it? They poured out. So it was a multitude. They poured out their
Mhm.
feelings and their thank and their praise for God, right?
Yeah.
And then in 142, do you got that
I
one?
pour out before him my complaint.
Okay.
Before him I tell my trouble.
Yes. So God's always said, if you bring your burdens and your oppression and all that to me in prayer, I can take care of it. But you have to ask, right? So when thy chastising was upon them, this was the afflicting hand of God, not as a punishment, but as a fatherly chastisement upon them. So all their persecutions from men are considered as permitted by the Lord for their instruction and correction. These will not drive them from God, but bring them to Him to seek Him by prayer and supplication.
We were
Okay?
just talking about that the other day,
Right.
about how children not only want discipline,
Mhm.
but they need,
they
they
do better
crave
with it. Yeah.
If you don't discipline your child, then they're not happy.
Yeah.
So if we're not disciplined for this and put back on the
Right path.
track,
Right.
we're not gonna be happy.
Right.
Well, they're lost.
Yeah, they're lost. Right.
Right.
Right. So verse 17 says, like as a woman with child that draweth near the time of her delivery is in pain and crieth out in her pangs, so have we been in thy sight, O Lord. Right? The first part, like as a woman with child, this is in Matthew 24:8 and John 16:20. I think
Which one are you looking at?
I got 24:8.
John 16:21. Right? And then go ahead to 48:6 in Psalms. That's the next one.
Matthew 24:8, it just says, all these are the beginnings of birth pains.
Birth pains, right? Okay.
And John 16:21.
Mm-hmm.
It's written in red.
Mm.
A woman, when she is in travail,
Mhm.
hath sorrow, because her hour is come. But as soon as she is delivered of the child, she remembereth no more the
Exactly.
anguish for
Right.
joy that a man is born unto the world.
Right.
Right. So this was a natural image of longing and painful expectation, followed by great joy. Right. So he's trying to express to them that, yeah, you're going to go through some pain and some conflict and some trials, but once it's overcome, then all you're going to remember is the joy.
Right.
Right. The comparison he used here is one that is very frequent in the sacred writings to represent any great suffering. And Psalms 48:6, she's got.
It says, fear took hold upon them there, and pain as of a woman in travail.
Travail.
Mhm.
Right.
Travail.
Travail, yeah.
Travail.
Right. Jeremiah is a bunch of them in Jeremiah. I would do one or two, maybe in Jeremiah. It's the same thing. It's
Do
just,
you want me to do Jeremiah?
do you have a couple of them
I have Jeremiah 6,
there? Okay.
24.
All right.
Next page
I'll
over.
let you do that. And then, when you have.
And what are we talking about? The comparison used here is one
Like
that's
the
very
woman with child.
frequent.
Right.
Great
Travail.
suffering.
Great suffering, right.
Okay. We have heard reports about them, and our hands hang limp. Anguish has gripped us.
Right.
Pain like that of a woman in labor.
Right.
I have Micah 4,
Read it.
9-10, and this is in Jerusalem, city of God. Eight. Now why dost thou cry out aloud? Is there no king in thee? Is thy counselor perished? For pangs have taken thee as a woman in travail. Be in pain and labor to bring forth, O daughter of Zion, like a woman in travail. For now shalt thou go forth out of the city, and thou shalt dwell in the field, and thou shalt go even to Babylon. There shalt thou be delivered. There the Lord shall redeem thee from the hand of thine enemies.
Right.
Basically, he's going to keep her safe and go out to the field and have a kid.
Yep. Basically. Yep.
Thank you.
And I'll say that Jeremiah 50:43 is almost exactly the same,
Same
thing
thing,
as
right.
Jeremiah 6:24.
And 22:23 is almost exactly the same thing again. So, what does that all mean though? That they're going to go through the pains of suffering.
Yeah.
But then when it's over, they'll be happy.
To be joy.
So you
But they
mean-
will have
They'll
forgotten
forget about all
the
the
pain
pain.
and suffering.
You mean the
We're like
valleys?
exactly on the same thing.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
valleys and the,
Yeah,
the
valleys.
mountaintops? The
Yeah.
valleys and the mountaintops?
Yeah, the same thing, right?
Labor?
Labor.
It's going to be laborious to get back up to the top of that hill.
Yeah, but you're right. But what happens? Women say, this is horrible. Well, some women, I'm never having another baby. And then they have to go through labor, and then they're for sure not going to have it. And then they have the baby, and then they get pregnant and have another baby because they forget about all the pain.
Right, that they went through,
And
right?
that's what Lisa was saying, that even though that all this is going to happen, guess what they're going to do again?
Yep.
Well, if you-
Backslide again.
Yeah. Well, if you're laboring out of the valley
Right.
to climb to the top, when you get to the top, you don't remember the trouble you went through to get there. You don't.
Some
You
of us
actually
do.
talk about it like badges of honor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's more like, yeah,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. I overcame this. The
Ooh.
Lord brought me through this. The
Right.
Lord
You're
brought
right.
me out of this.
You're right.
Yeah, as long as you give him the glory for it, we're good. When you start taking it upon yourself,
Because the reward
right,
is worth the labor.
the labor, okay? So he always wants us to what?
Call on him.
Call on him.
Mm-hmm.
But you gotta take action.
Well, you got to pray,
You gotta pray, you gotta
and when you don't,
supplication.
sometimes you get reminders.
Yes. Yeah,
She cries out in her pain, so
Right.
right?
Right. So that draweth near the time of her delivery, when her burden is great and very troublesome. That's captivity, going to Babylon, right?
Mhm.
Is in pain and crieth out in her pangs. This is for her friends to come about her and give her all the help and assistance they can.
Mm-hmm.
They would have put all these people together in work stations so that they could be monitored by guards or overseers, right? So if you're going to have a baby, then the women would gather around, like midwives, right,
Mhm.
and assist in it because they couldn't leave the field, even to deliver, right? So yeah, you can see that they need your friends need to be there to assist you when you're going through your labors,
Mhm.
right? And as Christians, we should help each other. You know, I understand where you're going and what can I do to help,
Right.
right? So have we been in thy sight, O Lord, in great distress and trouble, and crying to him for salvation and deliverance, all which were well known unto him, right? He's saying, Isaiah's saying, he sees you when you're going through your trouble and trials and your pangs and your pain, but he knows you can get through it, right? So then it goes to 18, and he says, we have been with child, and we have been in pain. We have as it were brought forth wind. We have not wrought any deliverance in the earth, neither have the inhabitants of the world fallen. Things continue, don't they? Basically, if you think about it.
Mhm.
We have been with child, and we have been in pain. We've had the torment of a woman in childbearing, but not the comfort of a living child, right?
So you go through the pain and you don't get the rewards.
Right.
And there are those moms who had that.
Stillbirths, right? And he understands that, the pain that you go through, right? So it says, we have brought forth nothing but wind. It was worthless, right? You went through all of this for what? For the suffering, right? We have, what is this? Yeah, all our labors and hopes were in vain and unsuccessful. Because who are they relying on?
Themselves.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the prophet here is
They
trying.
hadn't gotten to the prayer point.
Right, the prophet here represents their deplorable and desperate condition before God appeared so imminently to deliver them.
Because God does hear you when you start
He-
talking to him.
He humbled them. He let them humble themselves with their own pride and their arrogance. And he's like, okay, now when you cry out, maybe I'll hear you. Right? Because it has to be true from the heart,
Mhm.
right? We have not wrought any deliverance. We found that we are utterly unable to deliver ourselves. So many times everybody tries to do everything on their own,
Mhm.
right? And sometimes you can't. You're gonna have to leave it up to somebody else to get you through it, right? Or you got to have resources, right?
Mhm.
And I guess he's the number one resource if you think about it.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's like I said Sunday, if I'm going to go into battle, I'm going to follow Christ in because he's got the shield,
Mm-hmm.
right? He already knows how to get the victory over with. I'm like, I'm not going to be out in front. No. I'm supposed to follow him, right?
Right.
All right. So it says, in the earth or in the land, our own country, where yet we had far greater advantages than we could have had elsewhere. He's telling them, you guys had it made where you were, and then you didn't appreciate it. So he took it away, and now you're crying out for it again. Come on, right? So in the earth, right? And the inhabitants of the world. The Assyrians are the other enemies, for they are here opposed to God's people. You don't want to be on that side of the hill. He punishes his children, right? The chosen ones, right?
Mhm.
But he never destroys them.
Right.
Isn't that amazing if you think
Right,
about
but
it?
their enemies, he completely wipes off the
He
face
faced the earth, right?
We didn't do anything for ourselves, and we didn't even protect ourselves from our enemies.
Right,
Okay.
yeah. We're worthless. We're not
We're
worthy.
not any good.
We're not any good at this. I
Don't
think
do
it's
things
time.
you're not good, any good at.
Yeah, right. That's pretty much
Mhm.
it, right? So verse 19 says, Thy dead men shall live, together with my dead body shall they arise. Awake and sing, ye that dwell in dust. For thy dew is with the dew of herbs, and the earth shall cast out the dead. Now, that key phrase, the first one says, the dead men shall live. Better, thy dead shall live, my corpses shall rise. They're talking about their spirit,
Mm-hmm.
right? My corpses shall. This just sounds like, what is that, The Corpse Bride?
Yeah.
What-
Well, you
Tim
know,
Burton movie.
Tim Burton, yeah.
she wouldn't have done that if the ring hadn't fallen on her finger.
Right? Yeah. So the words, though they imply a belief more or less distinct in a resurrection, are primarily like the vision of dry bones in Ezekiel 37. We're not going to read Ezekiel 1 through 14, okay? 37 1 through 14. And like Paul's life from the dead, and that one's in Romans 11:15. If somebody would like to pull that up. You got it?
I got it.
Okay.
Hosea 6:2 has the same thing.
Romans.
11:15. Paul's life was definitely different, wasn't it?
Tell me what you mean by that.
Well, who was he before he became Paul?
Saul,
Right? And what was his job?
to kill Christians.
Ah, right? So he had
For
to.
if,
Go ahead.
for if the casting away of them be the reconciling of the world, what shall the receiving of them be, but life from the dead?
Life from the dead, right? So, I kind of interpret it this way. Before we become believers and have faith in Christ, right? Aren't we dead
We
already?
have to die to ourselves.
That's under the divine purpose in it.
Right, okay, there you go. So, so he's trying to reference here the national and a spiritual resurrection, not a physical, right? Because we don't need these bodies in heaven. Our spirit and the soul is all he cares about, right? This clay body is just needs to go back to the earth. You know? We don't need it. Together with my dead body shall they arise. The words "together with" are not in the original text, by the way. The words rendered "my dead body," neblethei, literally means "my dead body," and may be applied to a man or to a beast. Leviticus 5:2 and 7:24 talk about. Am I right?
I just had to go, I have to go back and read the verse sometimes when you're talking about
Okay.
it, just to see what context we're in.
Okay.
Because you said together with was not in the original, so I was trying to figure out what it sounded like if you took together without.
Right. So we read.
Like, thy dead men shall live, with my dead body shall they arise.
Right.
No. Thy dead men shall live, my dead body shall they arise.
Right.
This doesn't make sense. That's why they had to put together.
That's why they had to put something in there. In the Hebrew, it would have the past tense. That I would pass at the earth, and then I will arise at the appropriate time, right? Or not resurrect, but the spirit will be called for judgment, right? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that's what they're trying to get across there in the Hebrew. I just thought it was amazing that they, like, oh, it's not in there. Like, okay, who put that in there? Right? It was the Greek that, the Greek that actually did that. They put it in there, right?
Because they're going, that doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make any sense, right? Okay. Because they don't have the full text. Anyway, it also applied to dead in general, to the deceased, to carcasses or dead bodies, and that's also in Leviticus. The dry bones were all dead people, wouldn't they?
Yeah, there's a song about that.
Mm-hmm.
Dead bones will rise. Right?
No,
I don't know.
No, it's
rise up out of the ashes.
That's not it.
That's not it.
no, that's a spam.
Okay.
Ooh, I wonder if they want to hear Bible study.
Oh, I should have answered it. Hello, welcome to
We would
Crocus
have just put
Fellowship
it in the
Bible
center,
Study.
right?
Anyway,
Let me
so
put you on speakerphone.
Lauren Dangle,
Yeah.
Dry bones.
Oh, dry bones, that's it.
come alive.
Yeah, come alive. Right. All right, yeah. You're right, huh?
Yeah, that was one of Jillian's.
We cry
that
out
she
to
liked.
dry bones, come alive, come alive.
Right, yeah. Yep. So I put a note here. It may therefore be rendered my deceased or my dead, and will thus be parallel with the phrase thy dead men, right, is used with reference to the same species of resurrection of the spirit or the soul, right? Is not the language of the prophet Isaiah as if he referred to his own body when it should be dead, but it is the language of the choir that sings and speaks in the name of the Jewish people. Because you got to remember, this whole chapter is nothing but a song, a praise song, right? So that part right there, "together with my dead body shall they arise," would be repeated over and over as a chorus. He would say something, and then they would sing that, right? And it remind them, you're going to die, but your spirit is going to rise, okay? Then it goes, awake and sing. In view of the cheering and the consolatory fact that just stated that the dead shall rise, the chorus calls on people to awake and rejoice.
We
Right.
call out to dry bones,
Right.
come alive.
This is an address made directly to the dejected and oppressed people, as if the choir were with them. Oh. Why aren't you joining us? You could call out to them, couldn't you? You're not singing, why? Right?
We cry out to dry bones.
We cry out to them, yeah, we do.
We do.
Yeah.
We just want them to be dead to
The world,
and alive in
right.
Christ.
Mm-hmm. Well, one is living and one's not.
Well, they're both living, but one's living for the world and one's living for eternity.
Everything in the world is already got a death sentence,
It's right.
right? And only through Christ do you have life, living.
Right. So that 6-foot rope, right?
Yeah.
This much of that 6-foot rope is your time on earth. The rest of that rope is your time,
In heaven.
eternal time, regardless of where you are. That's your eternal time.
Right? You just don't want to be a long ways up that rope before you figure it out. Because you can hang
that
yourself
rope,
with it.
If that rope hits me, this
Right.
elbow may retract.
Okay. Okay, there we go. Ye that dwell in dust, it means to sit in dust or filth, or to dwell in the dust is emblematic of a state of dejection, want, oppression, or poverty. It's Psalms 44:25. I think I've got that.
It's right before Proverbs.
I got it
it's
right here.
Before Isaiah. Okay.
I got it. 44:25 says, that's 20. I gotta go to one more page, sorry. Thought I had it. I can get this page turned. 25 says, for our soul is bowed down to the dust, our belly cleaveth unto the earth, and the rest of it says, arise for our help and redeem us for thy mercy's sake. Right? So if you're crawling on your belly in the world, who can actually raise you up, put you on your feet, right? To defeat and oppress the oppression of the world, right?
Right.
Only Him, right?
You've hit rock bottom.
You've hit rock bottom, right? And if you think about it, a lot of people have to hit rock bottom before they can even achieve anything. What is it?
And then sometimes they just go sideways.
Yeah, I've seen that one too. Yeah,
Yeah.
they
They
don't
just
know how to
stay
go
there.
forward, huh?
They just stay there.
Yeah, we've seen that a lot, right?
It's sad.
Yeah, then they start elbowing little girls and stuff.
So, yeah, it's supposed to be addressed to the captivities in Babylon as oppressed, enslaved, and dejected people, right? And there for a long time they were. And thankfully God had time for Daniel to write his book so we would understand what was going on, right? Because they were in captivity in Babylon for how many years? Do you guys remember? It was almost 100 years. Yeah, Babylon was almost 100 years. It was 2 generations, excuse
Two
me.
generations.
Yeah. So, or it's about 80 years, they figure.
Right, so I was just watching a show on that.
Yeah, it's about 80 years,
On
right?
the story.
Oh, yeah.
Channel.
Story channel,
Yeah.
right, yeah. Right. And then, so, the language is derived from the doctrine of the resurrection of the body and proves that the doctrine was understood and believed. The sense is that those that were thus dejected and humbled should be restored to their former elevated privileges. right? If you're a slave and a captive and oppressed, and God frees you, aren't you restored to your previously level of privileges
Mhm.
or blessings?
Mhm.
Right? That's what he's trying to get across to them.
Mhm.
Right? The word
I don't remember.
I do
Which
which
is compared to.
is what? Okay, I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I do, which is a favor and blessing of God upon thee, which is often compared to the dew, as in Hosea 14:5 and Micah 5:7. The pronoun there, thy, is here taken not efficiently, but objectively. All right?
Yeah, it says, I shall be like the dew to Israel. He will blossom like the lily, and he will take root like the cedars of Lebanon,
You like the crocus?
like
Yeah.
the crocus.
Yeah,
Mhm.
there you go.
So I will give life restoring water.
Water, right? Right. So the dew, it's not the heavy rains or the floods that actually produce the best crops, because it usually erodes the soil around them or brings contaminants in. But a fresh dew, you lived in Maine. The dew there would get so heavy you could see it running off the leaves.
Right, well,
Right?
that's what the deers would lick off.
Yes,
and
right. They
drink it.
drain their water, right? But that dew is so reviving for the floral and the. You guys have some beautiful floral there.
Yeah,
The
I don't
ferns.
have to water the grass.
You don't have to water it. Yes,
So, that's right, we never did.
Right? But that's the type of dew he's talking about. Okay. It is the dew of herbs, which gently refreshes and revives them and makes them to grow and flourish. It's not a saturating rain. It's a life-giving, constant feed. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. So
That
and
would be the humidity.
like humidity, right?
Or in our case, it would be the dust.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And the earth shall cast out the dead. Or, well, it means deliver up the dead that are in it, and at all the powerful voice of Christ, which is in Revelation 20:13. You gonna do that one, Sherry? Are you gonna?
I'm here.
She's already let her do. Everybody, I
It's
think
like
it's
the very end.
yeah. 2013.
You need water.
But, yeah.
The sea gave up the dead that
Yeah.
were in it,
Right.
and death and Hades gave up the dead that were in them, and each person was judged according to what they had done.
Right. Now, so we have the sea and Hades, right? That's pretty amazing if you think about it. Even those that are already in purgatory, basically, are going to be judged.
Mm-hmm.
All of it
Everybody.
called up. Yeah, everybody's
At the
called
same
up.
time.
Right. For the second judgment,
Every soul.
every soul. Right. That's pretty amazing if you think about it. Now, why does the sea? He says the sea covers the dead. It's kind of an interesting aspect of it, because they never had a formal burial or ceremony. Because sailors were lost at sea.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't. In the Jewish faith, you have to have the last rites and this full ceremony, and the body is blessed and all that stuff. So the soul is right. They never got it, so they're saying they believe that the sea has to give it up so that they can have proper death, a proper death, and a calling. I'm like, really? All right. It was because of the way they believed at the time. All right.
It's saying that everywhere,
Yes,
not just the dirt,
but the
but the
seas, the
water,
rivers,
and Hades,
and Hades,
will all give it up.
all places of existence.
Mm-hmm.
Right, we'll give it up. That's pretty amazing. If you think about it.
It's proof that it exists.
Yes, it does, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Hades exists. It's a real place. Right? House of the rising sun, right?
I keep going to rock songs when you do
I
that.
know, right? Anyway. What is that, California Dreaming or something like that?
No, it's a song, The House of the Rising
Sun, that's right, okay. It's one of those, right?
By the
Then it's the
Doors.
rising sun, okay.
The Doors, isn't it?
It's been
No,
No.
not the Doors.
Oh, no, I know who it is.
It's not Eagles, right?
No.
I
it's
can
older than
picture
the
them, I
Eagles.
can see them, but I can't remember the name. You wouldn't think he would sing like that. He doesn't look like he would sing like that. He's like a baby face.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know I'm tired if I can't remember.
Just look it up.
I don't like to.
Google.
I like to use my noodles.
We're trying to kill ourselves trying to think.
Isn't Arthur Guthrie, right?
I don't know. I do know that it doesn't look like he
Peter,
would
Paul,
sing.
and Mary?
Oh, the
No,
animals.
not
The animals.
The animals.
But you're right. The lead singer doesn't. Yeah, his face doesn't match his voice.
Right.
I don't even, I would have never known that.
Yeah, he's
I
like
wouldn't have been able to pull that
voice.
from my memory to save my life.
I think that was their one.
His name is Eric Burdon.
One of their only
I
big
could,
Big
hits.
I
big
could tell
hits.
you almost every word of the song, but.
All right, let's do verse 20. It says, "Come, my people, enter." Yep. Yeah.
Hmm?
I don't think that one. I don't think that was the one I
It's
was.
live. It's like they're like our age.
Okay, gotcha.
But yeah,
Yeah.
he does not look like
He
he
did-
would sing like that.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, Dan.
It's okay. No, we'll do verse 20. We clarified and cleared up a thing, right? I started it. I'm letting finish it, right? So it says, "Come, my people, enter thou into thy chambers, and shut thy door about thee. Hide thyself as if it were for a little moment until the
Indignation.
that one be overpassed," right? Now, why does he say, "Come, my people, enter into thy chamber"? The vision of the judgments and the glory of the future leads a prophet to his work as a preacher of repentance in the present,
Mm-hmm.
right? His people also need the preparation of silent and solitary prayer.
Mm-hmm.
He says, not only do you want to pray in the temple, you want to pray at home,
Yeah, pray in private.
Right.
He says that multiple times throughout here.
right?
But he's also saying, don't be ashamed for very long.
Right,
Get over it.
right. Matthew 6:6.
Matthew 6:6 is under real religion,
Okay, real religion.
and it's in red. But thou, when thou prayest, enter into the closet, and when thou hast shut thy door, pray to thy Father which is in secret, and thy Father which seeth in secret shall reward thee openly.
Mhm.
Exactly.
But they don't mean literally go into a closet and close
No.
the door, like.
No,
Why not?
The
Why
Catholic,
not?
the Catholic religion actually did that.
I know.
It's called a confessional booth.
Mhm.
But they also loudly prayed and walked the
Streets,
streets so
yeah.
everybody could see that they were praying.
Well, that was the rabbis in the Sanhedrin. They were out for
Just a little
bell
Yeah.
in there.
The
Swing it.
smoke.
Slut, yeah.
swinging over their shoulders.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, that's why he had to kind of whoop on them. And
Flogging
Here's some
himself.
alternatives
Starts
to
talking about
closet.
flogging.
Yeah, there's alternatives to closets, right? What does it say?
For in the day of trouble he will keep me safe in his dwelling.
Dwelling.
He will hide me in the shelter of his sacred tent and set me high upon a rock.
Okay. All right, so there's
There
other
we go.
words,
That sounds better than a closet.
right? Or chambers here, right? As men seek the innermost recess of their home while the thunderstorm sweeps over the city, so should they seek God in that solitude till the great tempest of his indignation has passed by.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we've seen that a perfect example of that in the last plague in Moses' time, leaving Egypt. Because why did he tell them to go in their homes and close the doors and mark over
Oh, yeah.
their doors,
Yeah,
so that the angel of death would not take their firstborn?
right.
You might want to stay inside till this goes by.
Nobody
Right?
slept that night.
Nobody slept that night, right? And they could hear. That's why they could hear the wailing and the crying
Right.
across the city, right? So that was an example of it, right? And it says, "And shut thy doors about thee." It means to withdraw thyself from the company and conversation of the wicked world. Sometimes you got to take yourself out of that, and lest partaking with them in their sins, you also partake of their plagues.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Kind of makes sense, right? He alludes to the common practice of men who, when there are storms of danger or dangers abroad, betake themselves into their own houses of chambers for safety. Right? He's like, use some common sense here. You're not, well, the Assyrian army was going to come, right? We know that, right? They would just slaughter you if you were in the streets.
Right.
because they figure you're going to be in opposition to them.
Right.
But if
They
you're
would just automatically assume that.
but if you're in your home, they're going to pass
You're
by.
not out here to fight us.
Right, you're not there to resist them, right?
Mhm.
So they're not going to take the time to come in and clear the house. Right? Okay. So I think it also, something it refers to history found in Exodus, or that command of not going out of their houses in Exodus, which is the plagues. Okay,
Right.
both of those are plagues in the 10
Right.
the 10 plagues of Egypt, right? It says, hide thyself if it, for a little moment. Thus he intimates that all their afflictions, how long and tedious they may seem, are but short and momentary in comparison of that happiness which is reserved for them. That's fact, right? Okay. The indignation be overpassed. The dreadful effects of God's anger, those sore judgments of God, which are mentioned in the following verse, right? I think Isaiah's pretty amazing in the way he tells you about the hope, and then he gives you very blunt details about what is going to happen.
Get out of this.
Right? So it's pretty crazy, I think. So we go to 21. It says, for behold, the Lord cometh out of his place to punish the inhabitants of the earth for their iniquity. Well, we have an example of that in Abraham's time, right? About Sodom and Gomorrah, right?
But he didn't destroy it until.
The one righteous, or two righteous, or
Lot.
three, or Lot's family was out, right? All but his wife. Anyway, the amazing thing for me, anyway, and the earth also shall disclose her blood, and shall no more cover her slain. The first part of that, the Lord cometh out of his place. This is how do they explain this in Hebrew? It means that it's not like he sent an angel.
He did it himself.
He came with full authority.
Mm-hmm.
You
Wow.
do not want to stand in front of that, right? You're better off dealing with an angel.
He got mad.
He was like, I'm not sending nobody.
These are my people.
And when he has to step from heaven to earth, it's thunder's not going to be a problem, okay? Right? So it was very emphatic. This is a very bold statement, I guess is what I'm trying to say. That is from heaven, which is the dwelling place or residence of God, right? We know that from Psalms, Ezekiel, and Micah. It all talks about the same thing, about his throne in heaven.
Our God is in heaven. He does whatever he pleases him.
Yes, right? When God executes vengeance, he is represented as coming from his abode, his dwelling place, his capital, or as a monarch goes forth to war to destroy his foes.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't leave it up to anybody else,
Mm-mm.
right? Another key phrase there, also, the earth shall also disclose her blood. Now, blood in the scripture often denotes guilt, okay? The sense here is the earth would reveal its guilt. That is, the punishment which God would inflict would be a revelation of the crimes of the nation and the people. Wow.
Talk about punishing the inhabitants of the earth.
Oh, yeah, no. To punish the inhabitants of the land of Chaldea or Babylon and all the enemies of the believers and followers of God.
Okay.
Right? I think it's pretty amazing if you think about it, though. So, those that are guilty, that he's already, they've rejected him, he comes to judgment on them, right? I'm like, whew, that's going to be a tough one.
But they were never going to change their mind.
Yes, and God
That's
says,
the whole thing, no
that's the
matter
whole thing,
what.
right? And he knew that,
Yep.
right? There is a resemblance here to the language which was used representing the blood of Abel, and that's in Genesis 14. You got that?
Yeah.
All right.
The Lord said, "What have you done? Listen, your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground."
Mm.
That definitely would make you guilty, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah, it's a very clear statement, isn't it? Right? Nothing's hidden from God.
What have you done?
He created the earth, and it talks to him.
And he knew what
Sure.
he had done.
Yeah, he did. He just wanted him to
He
admit
wanted
it.
him to tell him what he had done.
Right? Well, you have to take ownership of it, right?
Well, you ask your kids, what did you do? What
Right.
did you do that for?
They point at the other one.
Yeah,
What
right.
did you do?
Point Lucy,
Yeah.
my dog.
And shall no more cover her slain. That means shall no more be able to conceal its guilt in the slain of the people of God. that other army killed a lot of the Jewish people, or the chosen people at the time. Remember they talked about the kids and women in the streets being cut with a sword, right? Because they were fleeing. They weren't fighting, they were fleeing,
Right.
right? He holds them accountable.
Good.
That's why 180,000 died in one night.
Is that one of those things where he says it would be better for you to have a concrete chain to your foot and
Throw it in the
throw it
ocean.
in the ocean
And
than it
two-
will be for
yeah,
a judgment?
Yoke. Yeah, yeah, around your neck. And then to come to judgment for your, yeah. Yeah, you'd probably feel better if you're over there, right? Because when God dishes out punishment, he doesn't do it just physically. He does it spiritually as well. The soul is tormented. Think about it.
You get ripped apart from him.
Yeah, into separate entities.
It's even, is it yin and yang?
Yeah,
You know? You're ripped apart from
right. You're separated from the balance. Yeah.
Mhm. And then there's no. The purpose for the righteous is joy.
Yes.
The purpose for the unrighteous is gone.
Yes. There's no purpose. Right.
It's gone.
It's gone.
I mean, they can't torment each other.
Nope. But
So they just don't exist at all, or they just stand around and they're just lost?
they're actually, some are go to Hades, some are in purgatory and waiting
Okay.
until judgment, but they already know what their sins is.
Right.
That would be cause some gnashing of some teeth, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And renting of clothes.
Right. Spiritually, right? They've already been judged,
Right.
right? All right, so, and shall no more cover her slain, right? Anyway, by these hopes the Jews were to be comforted in their calamity, knowing that there would be justice for them through God, right? No doubt the song was penned by Isaiah long before that captivity, in order that in the midst of that protracted and severe trials, they might be consoled with the hope of deliverance. He wrote this song to give them hope in the future. He's like, you guys are going to need this. You need to keep this song. He was told to write it and then inscribe it also. And that means to put it on a scroll and also on stone, like a tablet. So that would be forever and ever.
Set in stone.
Right. I put a special note in here that there are times when the children of God should look calmly on the conflicts of the people of this world. They should mingle with neither party, for they should remember that Yahweh presides over these agitations, and that their ultimate end is to bring deliverance to his church and his people and to advance the interest of his kingdom on earth. People forget that. That's his ultimate goal, right? Then they should be mild, gentle, be prayerful. We all should look up to God and make all these agitations and strifes the means of advancing the interest of his kingdom. If we stay focused,
Stand up for what's biblical,
and
but
correct,
don't confront.
don't confront them. Because
Right.
it's his right to judge, not us.
Right.
That's what he was saying.
At least if we do, we let him do the confronting.
Let him do the confronting, right?
Right.
All right. So that was, what
That
chapter was that?
Chapter 26.
Six.
Which, are we gonna do 27 next? or
No.
not?
30.
We'll go straight to chapter 30 next time?
Yep. All right. And then
Okay.
the one after that, I'm going to go ahead and do 35, the one I talked about Sunday,
Okay, so next chapter will
Right.
be 30.
because I think that's a good one.
Which one did you say?
30 this,
30 and then 35.
yep. I'm going to have you cover, if I get things arranged, the Sunday you're here, not the 17th. You're gone the 10th, and you're gone the 20th, right? 24th.
That's
Third, right. Anyway, the one in between,
Mm-hmm.
if you cover that Sunday,
I think it's the
16th.
17th. or
The
some-
16th.
Yeah.
something like that, can you cover that?
Mm-hmm.
I've got to get Chet's truck to him in Pennsylvania,
Oh, okay.
and that's the only time I can do it,
Yeah.
because you've already got your time in, right? If you can cover that sermon, I'll have all the Bible studies ready.
Okay.
If I happen to miss one, Sherry can lead it, or you can lead it, right? It's already
Can
written out.
Support.
Okay, did you hear that? But they're done, okay? So you don't have to worry about doing it.
Okay.
I
I'm a
appreciate it.
support person.
Support person, that's what it is. All right. It's pretty cool, though.
You know, God made us as a
Helper, right?
So
A helpmate.
you'll be going the 12th?
Probably the 12th. Right.
That is our board meeting.
I know, I will be here for
And
that.
then, oh, you're gonna be here.
I'll leave on the 13th.
Yeah, but we don't, if we skip a board meeting, it's not.
No, that's fine. I'm just trying to figure out
Yeah.
the schedule
Well, yeah.
in the calendar.
Yeah, yeah, I can give,
Even if we can do it by phone.
right, yeah, I can
We've
be on
done
the
it
phone.
before.
Mhm.
All right, I'm gonna turn this off.
Right, yes.
Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this Bible study and the gift you've given Dan to put it together for us. Be with us the balance of this week, our jobs, our workplaces, our travels, our grocery shoppings and kid watchings and thises and that's. And we just thank you in advance for the blessings that you'll be with us. We say all these things in Jesus'